You are listening to The Elephant in the Room, the podcast where we put our deepest vulnerabilities under spotlight. To everyone tuning in, welcome to episode 25 of the Elephant in the Room podcast, a podcast that is here to help us all feel more connected than disconnected from each other, allowing us to be truly seen by others as we share our personal yet universal stories of healing and becoming. My name is Suvi Inkinen. I am an intuitive deep transformation and psychedelic integration coach, channeler, healer, awakening mentor, modern medicine woman, and the founder of HunaWorks. My only wish is that these conversations offer helpful tools you can use along your path and make you feel less alone, bringing you solace within your own transformational journey which without proper support and understanding of what is happening can feel really lonely sometimes. So it's been a hot minute since the previous episode, but I could not have picked a better person to come out of my hiatus for than my today's epic guest. As these things always seem to happen, I got introduced to today's guest by spiritual happenstance by a beautiful human called Ryan, who had me on his thought-provoking podcast dive into discussion over a year ago, talking about psychedelic medicine, simply because he felt we should meet. And I'm so glad we did. After I had that first heart-to-heart with today's guest, I knew I wanted all of you to meet him and hear his incredible story, because I know it will bring so much hope to people who are struggling in their life right now. So who am I sitting in front of today? His name is, and I checked how to pronounce it, so let me know if it is correct. Jacques Pierre Cole, aka JPC, aka Rogue Zen Bon Monk. He is tuning in from San Diego, California. Welcome, Jack.
Awesome. Got it.
Thank you so much for sitting down with me to chat and for wanting to share your journey with our listeners. How are you feeling today?
I'm feeling great, and I feel wonderful about technology right now, as I am in the United States and you're in Australia, and it's a beautiful thing to have those connections around the world. And it's been a blessing for me to meet you, and I feel very fortunate to be on your podcast. Your hiatus.
Sorry,
I just feel good. I'm like, yay! like a little kid right now. Like this is a happy place for me.
That's how life should be all the time, I think. Even if it's hard to be the little kid who is just like, well, that's happening, but it's okay.
Absolutely.
I know you've written a book of some of the experiences we're going to chat about today, but does talking about your heavier moments still make you nervous, or?
No, probably if you would ask me that question maybe 10 or 15 years ago, definitely. But no, it's, I am very open about all the things that have happened to me in my past, pleasant, unpleasant, neutral, right? Just because there's such a detachment from that. I mean, obviously I experienced them, but it's, it's in the past. It's nothing I can do, but I know that experience can help others and just understand how I got to where I can openly talk about it and feel good, right? And smile about things that I went through.
Exactly, which is a big part of why we're here today. Can you tell everyone briefly, before we go into anything else, the meaning of Zen Bon and the Rogue name or word? Beginning?
Yeah. So first, I'll give you a brief synopsis of monks and things like that, just real brief. Obviously, there's a variety of different monks out there. Most people are familiar with the Dalai Lama. That's why I usually lead with him, because most people know the Dalai Lama in some capacity, who is a Tibetan monk. Tibetan monks have to live in a monastery or temple, and they have 264 degrees of rules that they abide by. I studied under a mentor, and really I didn't study. Many times people go to study to become a monk. I actually was studying to become a better me, right? And understand and harness my feelings. It wasn't until my close to 8th year of following my mentor, not literally, but physically in some spaces, but really just his teachings, that he ordained me as, and I had the choice of becoming a Tibetan monk or the Zen Bon. Different with the Zen Bon. Tibetan and Bon came around the same time. Bon monks were more in harmony with the environment, more with holistic healing. They typically had dreadlocks and long beards. Unfortunately, I can't grow the hair on my head like I did in the past, so that's why I shaved, or I'd probably have dreadlocks. And the Zen is more of the meditative, being more present and mindful. So my Zen Bon comes from the Zen and Bon spiritual legacies with an underneath of Tibetan teaching. So
did you
throw that out in a blender. What's that?
Did you study in Tibet? That's where you were?
No, I didn't go there. I was in Thailand, though. I was in Phuket. And that's where I did some studying there, into where I almost stayed. But a Zen Bon monk is more of, I compare it to like a pastor of a church. We can still be married and have kids and things like that and have a job. Even lots of Zen Bon monks have jobs. But Tibetan, it's more like you have to be in the monastery, right?
For you?
And then that's for the rogue. Yeah, so the rogue part of it came from because I was someone who would teach at different temples, but I wouldn't basically sign the dotted line to become a official teacher there. And my mentor challenged me with helping Buddhism evolve, right? And just have that evolution. So when I would do teachings at different places, one person, when I was sharing just what I've done and things like that, they said, "Yeah, you're kind of rogue." That's where the Rogue Zen Monk came from that person saying, "You're kind of rogue in what you do." And I said, "Yeah, I guess so. I kind of drift off the mainstream of traditions and pluck a new kind of garden that's going to be cultivated on an individual level." So so that's where the Rogue Zen Monk came from, and it's stuck.
And it suits you well. And I think it's a really good, like, we've had many discussions about these things, but it's not necessarily always needed for you to follow somebody else 100% exactly what they do.
Absolutely.
It's more powerful when you have the freedom and the courage to take the bits that serve you and make it your own, because then it's authentic to you. And it resonates way more deeper, I think, with people when they can feel like you're doing your thing and not speaking words of another.
So I always share with people. I'm like, I'm going to say some cool things, some things that probably seem pretty wise. I'm going to say some things that probably seem like I'm quite the knucklehead or something like that. Pluck what works with you, discard the rest, and just keep it moving. But that's how I see it. And just like you said, find your path. Some of the words I may say may resonate, some of them may not. That's okay. It's okay.
And I think that's a one kind of connecting factor between you and me, even though you look at us and we look entirely like from different worlds, I think. And but still there's this core similarity that just, it makes it easy to talk and openness to each other. So I wanted to ask you a little favor, a little gift to leave all our listeners and myself after we finish. Would you like to share a little meditation with us at the end? Absolutely, I will. So stay tuned, and we'll get a little gift from JPC at the end. And not that this conversation is not going to be a gift, but that's kind of the farewell.
Yeah, exactly.
So before we get started with our topics and you guys get to hear the story of how and why Jacques Pierre Cole became Rogue Zen Bon Monk, I'll give you a quick intro on my soulful, beautiful guest. In his early years, JPC was diagnosed with bipolar depression. He struggled for many years trying to find his place in this world, even trying to commit suicide nearly 20 times throughout those years. Fortunately, his curiosity of why we exist guided him down a lifelong journey of wonder and self-discovery. Before doing what he does today, he has served in the Navy, National Guard, protected people as a police officer, built nonprofits to service those who struggle. And now he teaches and mentors others to find their authentic purpose and embrace their reason for being. He has traveled all over the world, uncovering the beauty of authentic human kindness. All his years have brought about the wisdom that we are always students. Zen Bon JPC is the CEO and founder of the Meditation and Mindfulness Institute for Humans, MMAIH. He created this institute for people to help them in self-discovery, connect and know the feeling of genuine human kindness. When he's not teaching or writing, you can find him enjoying one of his favorite meditations, drawing mandalas in the sand. If you're ever in San Diego, keep your eyes open as you may see this monk passing you on his longboard with his robes flapping in the wind. I can totally, it's like I'm getting such
yeah.
happy. His favorite motto is celebrate today's day. It is the best day. It is the only day. What a fascinating life you've had, Jacques. Do you ever look back and think that you're looking at somebody else's life?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I'm like, who? What?
What way?
Yeah. I'm like, I think I try to fit 100 lives into one.
Yeah.
Maybe with just the degree of fascination of people and no fear to trying anything. Right. I think I was a very just open individual to just attaching anything I could to consume knowledge and really knowledge about people. And so that just carried me to a variety of jobs, a variety of places.
And I think, that's the point. It's like, try things with curiosity and maybe, obviously you have to think about a little bit of, is this going to kill me? Do I jump out of a plane without what it's called, the thing?
Parachute, yeah, the parachute, yeah.
Do I jump because it's just like, I might as well try everything, but to be curious, not be afraid to, to do something out of character, because maybe that's the part of you that is missing and you find it that way.
Yeah.
So as I do with everyone else, I'll get going with a common question and the rest will just free flow and see what happens. So the question to kick off is, when you heard about the Elephant in the Room podcast and my idea behind it, what made you want to say yes? And did you hesitate to do so?
And what was the second part?
Did you hesitate to do so?
Oh, no, because it was you. that made it real easy for me. I've had I feel very fortunate that, our first conversation was just an amazing connecting conversation that, I appreciate that moment. And when I think of Elephant in the Room, I like that title because it's talking about, to me, in my head, it's talking about the things that not everyone wants to talk about, but it's there. We see it. And, this show can bring individuals to be open about that. So I'm sure many people, even the topic we talked about today, will be able to relate. And it's soothing to hear someone be able to speak onto that sometimes when we can't find the words. And that's how I see myself talking about my experiences. I'm in a place where I feel I can find the words that someone who may be going into just the beginning of their healing may not be able to find the words, and those words can help, penetrate and help the healing process for them. So,
often we think that we're so alone in things, but there's more, things that connect us than don't. And usually those are the things that connect us that we don't talk about.
Yeah, absolutely right. Absolutely right. So so I didn't have to think twice about this show.
Thank you. I'm blushing a little bit.
Yeah.
There's been a lot of sorry?
No, go ahead. I was saying, give me more accolades.
There's been a lot of really powerful experiences, both quite hard and challenging, but incredibly positive ones as well, that have led you to become the incredible person you are today and an inspiring teacher for others. So let's dive into it all. There wasn't much about your childhood, family, and upbringing in your bio. Do you mind sharing us a little bit about that, so we have a beginning to your journey in this life?
Yeah, absolutely. So my when I was born, we lived in, I guess, what we consider kind of the hood, right? A little violent environment. And so, so my first, when I was younger, I was just like any other kid playing outside. I had, pretty sure I had ADHD, and I definitely had symptoms of depression already at a very young age.
How old?
But I didn't, I would say probably those started to show when I was like 5 or 6. I was a highly in tune child, and I, probably talking to some other people who are like mediums and things of that nature, they may have some other ideas about it. When I was very young, my parents had a lot of parties, so I was exposed to a lot of adult themes at a young age. So I had a heightened awareness of all these emotions that happen. I just didn't know what to do with them, and they would come out in these different ways. And so with the ADHD and just my emotions, I was, my father would whip me a lot. And I know people are going to be like, oh, I got spankings too. But the difference being, it's one thing to be spanked, right? Or, just hit a few times. We're talking lashes, welts and things like that. That goes a little bit beyond just I'm going to punish my child for doing something that I don't appreciate. My parents divorced when I was 8, and that was my first suicide attempt. I tried jumping off a balcony, and my parents hospitalized me at that age, and they just didn't know what to do with me. And I had all these emotions, depression. I'm pretty sure that's where the bipolar started. I didn't know what to do with them, and no one was telling me what to do with them, right?
I'm giving you words, and like you were just saying, people don't have words to express, and especially when you're a child.
And when my parents split, my mother lived in a different neighborhood, not too far away, but I tried living with my father, but the abuse, and then when I turned 10, the sexual abuse started. And then he would die in a car accident.
By your father?
By my father. And he would die in a car accident when I was 13. And then the rest of the time I lived with my mother, but my mother and I had a hard relationship because my father was one of those fathers who taught me to hate my mother. So I was just an angry, suicidal, bipolar, ADHD, unmedicated kid who was highly in tune and intuitive to everyone's emotions, but didn't know what to do with it, right? I was absorbing things to a capacity that my young mind could not handle it. Hence, I was constantly trying to kill myself. I was constantly trying to leave because it was too much. And I was highly sensitive to when adults were feeling things, when kids were feeling things. And then I had, this swirl of, depression that with no guidance, just going into the hospital and speaking to a therapist, but those didn't last very long. So that's kind of, but there was a lot of, I'm not going to say it was all bad. There was some good, my mom's neighborhood, I had some good friends. We, where I played outside like a normal kid and things like that. But I just had this underlining of darkness, like just a bad shadow telling me, kill yourself. I hate you. I hate my mom, all that kind of stuff.
So I wasn't supposed to ask this, but I want to ask this. Have you been able to, because like just as a child, it feels so, even though we both believe, I think that the life that we have is exactly the life that we're meant to have, because this is the journey we pick for ourselves and the parents and the experiences. But have you been able to have a resolution within yourself, and how have you done that to be able to, or have you been able to forgive your parents? All of that they didn't do, or that they did.
I probably wouldn't be in front of you today if I didn't come to, for me personally, because as I got older, my suicide attempts became more volatile and more intense. So it wasn't just, something that it was, I was trying to take myself out. But no, I came to a point where I forgave my father, and and figuring my mother. And, I just looked at it from a perspective that my father went through. He had a bad childhood, right? And unfortunately, he didn't have the capacity to heal from that childhood. So it just bled on to me, right? My mom did not have the capacity because she's working hard. She's a single mom. She didn't have the help to really understand depression and what was going on. She was exhausted from working, and it was me and my half sister, and my half sister had a baby at 17, so it's us three, and so she just was trying to put that together. So on that end, there's really, it just didn't have the tools, right? I think it'd be different for me if I thought like my mom had all these tools and she was, she knew all about this stuff. Maybe it'd be different, but for my mom, there's really not much to forgive. My dad, I feel fortunate that I was able to hit a point where I survived and be able to face the demons that he wasn't able to.
And I think that's kind of the thing that a lot of people right now are doing, where we're the ones ending the generational pain. A lot of people collectively, I think, doing that, and it's a hard road, but for whoever comes after. And I think it's, in a way, I don't know, this sounds really weird, but I can say this to you because you know what I mean. It feels like a privilege, that we were gifted that task for this life, because it's, it will help people before us and after us, because there's no time, right? And
you're right. Sorry, keep going.
And for the whole idea of forgiveness, it's like, yes, we go through horrible things, and it's easy to blame the parents. And again, I've had my own experiences, or I've seen that through my previous work, kind of children who were you and their families and the situations, but I haven't gone through what you've gone through in this life. But the idea of, if somebody does that to their children, they're still doing the best they can with what they know. So if that's their best, to think, what was their childhood like? What made them this person? And like to find that compassion, so then you can forgive and let go.
Yeah.
Which is really, obviously it's really hard. And like, I take my hat off to you to having been able to do that, because that's just like breaks my heart for you as a child. What did you want to be when you were little, and why? Let's switch gears.
So the funny thing about this question is, when I was younger, and they said, what do you want to be when you want to grow up? And I don't know, maybe I was just rebellious from the when I came out of the womb. Maybe.
Guns blazing.
I was already, because when they said, what do you want to be? Even as a young child, I thought, no, what things do I want to be? It wasn't a singular thing to me. I thought, I want to be a lot of things, and I can do a lot of things. So one of the things when I was a child, I wanted to be a boxer, which I did box, not for a long time, but I did. I wanted to fly. Who doesn't want to fly sometimes? But I wanted to fly. I think, and that's still on the list. I think at some point I'll learn how to fly a plane. I mean, why not? But those were really, like, when I was a little kid, I wanted to be an artist, and draw and paint, and I wanted to play an instrument. But those are things I wanted to be, And even as a young child, remember I was telling you how I had a lot of adult dreams in my head. As a young child, I wanted to help people in some capacity. I wanted to help, and and those are kind of things I thought, like, that's what I want to be when I grow up. Someone who helps people, someone who can play an instrument, box, draw.
That's beautiful. So it wasn't like, I want to be a fireman, or I want to be a police officer.
No, it was things.
Different thoughts.
I thought, why limit me? That's the one thing.
Sometimes I feel like, because that's how I was when I was a kid, and we've talked about this, I think you mentioned the same thing, that you feel like this is your last lifetime. It's like, I want to do everything now before I go. I do everything, so then I can help people with all the things that I know how to do.
That's right. That's right. I'm like, I want to play in all the sandbox.
Yeah, exactly. Totally. Yeah. You mentioned you struggle with mental illness, depressive, bipolar, to be more specific. Not that I personally like to label people like that, and I think you and I are on the same page with it. Can you share with us about that, and where are you with all of that now? And how would you describe, do you think of it as a mental illness, or do you think for yourself that it's just a label and there's other reasons for why you were the way you were?
Yeah, I mean, it's a great question. I understand the labels. I mean, obviously in society, we're going to label things because technically to me, that's for insurance purposes, right? To really label someone and try to be like, okay, you're this way or you're this way.
And then we send these medications to.
Yeah. I mean, you label it really so it can be paid, right? Because depending on what doctor I was in front of, I could be bipolar 1, 2, or 3. I could be clinically depressed. One doctor said I had what's called a state of anhedonia, where anhedonia is where you're beyond depression and you're beyond medication. You're in a spot where it's hard to help you, like you're that far gone. And then there's all those environmental things that were around. So I think the labels, did I have a mental illness? Sure. Did I have some, what that exactly was, hey, who's in front of me, what doctor wants to name it, that's fine. Doesn't solve it, right? I'm more concerned about whatever you want to call it, how do we solve it? And I think that we have a power that we can lay down some different tracks. Now, mind you, I'm saying this very simply, it's more scientific than this, but just for the general listeners, there's some other tracks we can lay, right? You have all this wiring, you have all these neurons firing off in this magnificent brain of ours, and what we're still discovering, and we can lay down some different patterns. It's hard, it takes a long time, but it's possible. And I feel like that's what I did, that I created some different tracks. Doesn't mean those old tracks are gone. It just means I have some better tracks that, I'm on the bridge looking down at those old tracks like, oh, that's nice, they're down there, but I'm not going to hop down there on that. If that made sense, I think I went on a little bit of a rant.
No, you didn't.
Yeah.
If that's a rant,
so, but so I mean, do people have problems, or people have a hard time finding themselves, or just finding wisdom within? Do we need to label that because we want to have it paid for by insurance purposes? Western society, I know there's universal health care in other places, but Western culture, you have to label it something or it's not going to get paid for. But some people don't have the capacity to do these things on their own. So we need to label it something so they can get the help that they need. Until we realize as a planet that we should just help people, period. That it shouldn't be, it shouldn't be based off of, whether they can afford it or not.
What are your thoughts on, so when you think of, people having mental illness, obviously a lot of the things that you experienced as a child, that leads you there because you feel like you're trapped in this box and you don't know how to express it, and you feel helpless, and then you create ways to survive through it. But then the other part of thinking that, if we lived in other kinds of societies where, let's say, a person with bipolar is actually seen as a gifted and spiritually open person, And if you're supported and they understand what that is, and you learn how to use it, and ground yourself with it, and you understand that it can be a gift instead of putting a label and saying this is an issue, there's a problem, you're not normal, blah blah blah, and then you get medicated and then it becomes a problem. Do you believe in that?
Yeah, I mean, I would agree with you that I'm labeled bipolar, right? But it definitely, in this stage of my life, it's a superpower. As I go through a manic stage, I would say that before it was this energy that I couldn't harness, right? Now I go through a manic stage, I'm like, this is going to be a crazy creative, and I'm going to get a lot of things cleaned because I've been able to harness that energy, right? And be able to utilize it to where it serves me, where I'm excited when that stage comes. I'm like, hey, here it comes. Woo! So I think, to exactly what you're saying, that someone who's diagnosed at whatever stage in life with bipolar, it definitely can become something that they harness, right? That, just what you're saying, can be seen as a gift more than how some people unfortunately see it as a curse or something that will always drag them through the mud, right? And I feel like I am a example of someone who's bipolar, that you're like, yeah, I'd wear it as a badge. Thank you very much. I wish you could have a taste of when I have this crazy energy that I'm able to harness and get a lot of things done and get a lot of creative thoughts out and have this beautiful, just experience that I'm able to control and harness. It's not like I'm going out and buying a yacht that I can't afford, which technically I can't afford a yacht. I am a monk. So I just thought I'd use that as an example. I should tone it down. Like, if I just go out and buy a couple kayaks, that's more at the level I'm probably at.
It's like having awareness around it, and instead of fighting against it, find the gift within it.
Yeah, and there's once you can harness those things, you prepare for it, just like you would anything, right? You prepare, you start feeling this, you put the things in place so it benefits you instead of becoming something that creates more damage. But once again, all these concepts, these are things that I've practiced over years. This is not something where one day I woke up and I was like, I got it. It was definitely a trial and error. Fortunately, I had the right support around me and didn't have those errors, weren't so detrimental over time.
So when you were talking about support, do you think there would have been something people around you could have done differently, even if it's a little thing, to make your life be better as a child, or someone who was suffering as a child?
Yeah, I think if I was
just actually for parents listening, so this is for parents, who are listening and they have a child who's struggling. Like, what can they do? Little things they could do to make their life a little bit better and easier.
One, do everything you can to understand, right? Maybe you're not gonna understand it completely, but do your due diligence and figure out what's going on with your child, right? For one thing, explore not only just the standard medical path, but holistically as well, and realize that some of the tiniest things that in your home, the environment, could be things that you also need to look at, right? But I think the main thing, though, I just wanted to be seen. I had all these feelings going on, and all these just this incredible weight I was carrying, and no one was really acknowledging those feelings and said I was okay. They didn't even have to say, oh, you're going to be okay, or it's going to get better. They didn't even have to say that. Just let me know that I am a human, and this is part of it, and I can, that this is part of it. But no one said those things to me. No one saw me, So I thought I was a virus, much like how people are looking at COVID right now. I thought I was a plague to everyone. And yeah, that's a very isolating situation, because no one was telling me that I was okay, and that these feelings we can work through. It was just like I either got whipped for doing something I wasn't supposed to, or sometimes whipped because yeah, that's I was crying out for that, just to be seen. So for parents out there, it's just patience, allowing your child, whatever age, just voice some of their feelings and emotions, no matter how it comes out. Maybe it comes out in drawings, maybe it comes out in music, maybe it comes out in words, and maybe it's you can't quite understand, but just knowing that they have you as that foundation, and you're going to support and see them through it and be there no matter what. I mean, I just think that's what I needed at the time, because some people, if I said something to, especially if I was like 8 years old or something, I was telling people I'm suicidal, it was the shock value. No, why? What's wrong with you? You don't want to. No, I needed to get it out. Yeah, I needed to get it out, and I just needed you to listen. I think that's the biggest skill set that all of us can continue to work on, because I think it's an art. It's like a gift to people to really be able to listen and empower, and that's what I would say, parents, to be able to harness that power of listening.
And not make it about you. When someone's struggling, don't flip it and make it about you, because then that person is not being heard at all.
Yeah, absolutely. And I would say the other thing too is be okay with sometimes your kid may, or your child may connect with someone outside of you. That's not a bad thing. It could be an uncle. It could be this person, and that's okay to have those micro connections with people outside the parents where they feel comfortable. I think as a parent, you should be willing to find any path that's going to help your child heal, right? Instead of just thinking you have to go through this. You have to go through this channel. I was thinking like a channel, like a river. You have to go through this way, and that's the only way. No, if this way doesn't work, then sorry, kid. No, that's what I needed, to be seen. To be seen.
And I think that's a human need, period. And we talked about this, like we both have this feeling of like there's so many people who think their life doesn't matter, and because it's not the way society thinks that's the kind of life that matters, to see them, allow people to understand that I'm important, the way I feel is okay. You don't have to change it, just feel the way you feel, it's okay.
Right. And it's okay, like if you're angry, it's okay to be angry right now. It's okay to be sad right now. That's okay. And that's the stuff I needed, because I wasn't getting it.
You mentioned to me about your past pathways to search for sign of living. What did you mean with that?
Search for sign of.
You said you were looking past pathways to search for sign of living.
I was searching for a sign of living.
Yeah. What does that mean?
No, when did I say this wise word? I said I was searching for a signs of living.
Like pathways. So did that mean? I don't know what that meant. Should we skip it? We can skip it.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know why I said it.
Okay. I found an interesting sentence.
I can only think, at one point, and you can cut this or keep it, it doesn't matter. At one point, when I was going through therapy, when I got a little bit older, I wanted to retire from life. Didn't want to kill myself. I just wanted to retire. I felt like I had enough. I'd done enough. And I was satisfied with that. And it was, the interesting thing is, it wasn't depression, but they kept saying, you're depressed. I'm like, no, I'm not depressed. I just was saying, like, hey, if someone was dying and I could switch places with them, I would, because I'm like, I've had enough of this planet, right? And so I I can only think that's what I was searching for, pathways to, as far as living, because that was something they challenged me with, because there really wasn't an answer from that particular therapist about that dilemma. I was like, yeah, I'm good. I just ready to retire. So I don't know if that was along that question. I have no idea. I did put the disclaimer here in the beginning. I say some wise things, I say some good things, and I say some knucklehead things. That could have been the knucklehead time.
Okay. That's right. Now we can go to the actual
That's right. That could be that moment.
You mentioned a lot of different careers you've had over your lifetime thus far. And for me, some of them seem really far from the person that I'm looking at today. Why did you choose to go into those specific fields, like policeman or being in the army? And what were the big lessons you learned from them? And would you do them again? Now, knowing
the big lesson I learned from it: don't do it. No, I'm just kidding. When I was 17, it was an out. I really wanted to get away from, I still didn't have a good relationship with my mother. I really wanted to get away from the family, and that was an out for me to go to the military. And when I was in the military, I did not do well with the structure. It wasn't that I couldn't. It was, I naturally, and once again, this is, if you ask anyone about my childhood, this has been a theme that was always, I questioned everything, the why we were doing this, when it didn't make sense, or we had to, where people were putting up the masks to say to do this, to give you an example. One time I got in trouble because we had these old Navy books. They're like from 1970 something. Okay. Now, when you have to move barracks, they'll just tell you in like a day, you got to move barracks. So you got to pack all your stuff and move all your stuff over. And, when you're moving things, your doors open, things like that. Sometimes you'll steal stuff because you can't carry it all yourself. I lost this book, right? So the commander at the time, he's like, "Where's that book?" I said, "Well, we had to move yesterday and I can't find it." He goes, he got all upset. He goes, "You lost Navy property." Now in my head, I'm like, the book is from 1970 something. Like bill me. You know what I mean? Like, come on. I can't be the first person who's lost one of those books. If anything, I thought that book was going to disintegrate from into dust. Well, he said,
"You a favor by losing."
Yeah. No, yeah. He said, "Well, you need to go look for it." But I already know that it's lost. I've already looked for it. Well, you need to go look for it anyway. See that part right there? What sense does this make? If I know that I've lost it, now you want me to go look for it. So what did I do? I just went to lunch, right? I just went and ate lunch, hung around a little bit, came back, said, "Hey, can find it." And he was so upset about that, that I had lost this book. But it wasn't like I was just walking along the street and I tossed it. No, we had to move. So it was things like that, those type of procedures that didn't sit well with me. So I ended up getting out of the military early. And then I spent the rest of the time just kind of doing odd jobs all around until, I felt the pressure. I was like 25 and I just thought everyone else is getting married and starting to have kids and they're in their careers. I need to do something. I need to get serious with my life. That's what I thought. So at the time, my hair was down as long as yours, and I shaved it. I had about 6 piercings. Took them all out. Went and applied for the fire department and the police department and a National Guard. And on the same day I was signing the paperwork to become a police officer, that same day, that afternoon, I went to the National Guard and signed the paperwork, and I was back in the military. Yeah, it was a disaster. It was a disaster. It was a disaster. The military, I had, I talked back on everything. That didn't make sense to me. And so in the military, I was the National Guard. I was promoted, demoted, promoted, demoted, demoted, promoted, and then I got out. As a police officer, that was a very fascinating time for me. I didn't get along. I didn't have a lot of police officer friends because I wasn't someone who thought I was a police officer 24 hours a day. No, when my shift was over, I'm done. And I saw a lot of gray, which is very difficult for some police officers. There's gray in everything. And I'll give you an example. When I would arrest someone who's on crack, not a dealer, but someone's on crack, I started to think, what am I really solving here? Right? I send this I send the addict to jail. Am I really solving anything here? Because all that happens is they come back out and they just keep doing crack.
It's like nobody wants to be an addict if they know how not to, because it's not a fun life.
Yeah. So I'm not really, I started to see my police officer position. I'm not really helping society. I'm catching people at the end sometimes, but I'm not really helping. So it just started, and this is where I started to really dive into Buddhism as well, and this philosophy, and it just didn't align. Plus, I was in a lot of fights, and I got stabbed and shot by the ricochet, and the check wasn't big enough for that. Plus, I was tired of doing it. I was tired of people calling me everything you can imagine. I mean, I did applaud people when they came up with something new. So I was pretty impressed for their creativity, like, wow, you put those vulgar words together. I've never heard it like that. But I worked all nights, and it wears on you when you just hear the same thing over and over, and the hatred. And there are some good parts. Some people are like, thank you when you help them. But my nights, it was just, I got the worst of the worst. And I was in a city that is ranked in the United States, is ranked as the 5th dangerous city for police officers, which means that you have a lot of people headhunting you, right? And so I feel very fortunate that I got out of that job before I crossed over. And I'll explain what I mean. Because you remember how I told you earlier, I was very in tune and intuitive to emotions and feelings, right? So I was absorbing so much that I started to become callous, right? Towards, and I was just in, close to 4 years, but I started becoming very callous to people. Stopped trusting people, stopped thinking that when people were going through things, my emotions were out of it. I just thought, like, too bad for you. And that's when I knew, if I were going to, I need to get out, right? Or I would be a jaded, calloused police officer who just like, hey, too bad, you're going to jail. No sympathy.
And there's so many people who are not aware of that threshold moment where it's like, you know what I mean? And you can go either way. Either way. And you see it in all kinds of helping professions, where you see the worst of the worst and you go into it wanting to help and do good. And then because you have to, a bit like as a child, you have to protect yourself because it's too much. And then you become this person who just doesn't give a fuck anymore. And then you're in a position to help people, and that's just a dangerous combination. And you see a lot of it, right? So good for you for being aware of that.
Yeah, I was definitely glad to get out. And but I will never take away the experience. It gave me a new awareness that I think I had, but was practiced daily. Listening skills, details that people don't always look at, just spatial awareness. I was practicing these skills every day, and it enhanced, I would say that part enhanced what I do now.
So
to have that in my background.
Do you feel like that's how I feel, but I just want to confirm, I think you're on the same page. We pick every experience because they're the little pieces of our puzzle that we're putting together when we one day step into what we're truly here to do. What is our big task? Yeah.
I think, if I was even to list out all the jobs that I've worked in some form or fashion, you probably would, start twitching just from all the different career paths that I've had. But when I look at them, each of them were developing a skill that what I do now has it's like it's all come together, right? Obviously, we're always still learning and still growing, but a lot of those skill sets have helped me in the space that I'm in now to relate and connect to a lot of people of a variety of experiences and backgrounds, and some of it's firsthand experience. So that's I agree with what you're saying.
So random is never really random, is it? Can you share with us a little bit about you said your first suicide attempt was around 8 years old. How many times was it exactly, and what eventually made you want to live instead of die? You shared this with me once, and I think it's a beautiful story.
So my first attempt when I was 8, and I had many other attempts from there. The gambit. Most of them were overdoses. I went through when I hit my motorcycle in the back of a car, flipped over that. I electrocuted myself. And so my last attempt, I went through the windshield of a car purposely, and I crashed into a tree going about 60 miles an hour, and I thought I was gone. And I felt incredibly good. Now I do attribute that to probably the fact that my body was in a state of shock. So endorphins were flooded through my body. So of course, I have an endorphin high, but I was losing a lot of blood out of my head. Anytime you hit your head, blood was just splashing out. And I thought I was gone. And I remember, they brought me back, and I remember one of my first thoughts, and I can laugh at it. And if any of you feel compelled to laugh, trust me, it's okay. I was frustrated and becoming more depressed that I wasn't good at suicide. So it was only compressing what I was feeling. So I thought, man, I suck at this. And it's starting to piss me off. That was the actual thought. I'm starting to get mad that I'm not good at something else. So I thought forget it. I'm going to try this living thing then.
Fuck it.
Right. I got nothing to lose. Might as well try, living and be happy and see how that one works. Because clearly I'm terrible at this. It was just making me more depressed. So I was like, so then that's when I decided that, hey, I'm going to try this living thing. Give it a shot. What's this happiness people speak of? And see if it works. Because I was bad at suicide.
I'm glad you were. I'm glad you said it.
Yeah, me too. And so then the happiness trail started, and really just figuring out what is going on and how do people find joy.
And you decided that I might as well give a crack at this whole living thing and becoming happy. I suck at killing myself. So here
exactly. Not good.
We're starting to talk about what happened after. Often we find peace with our struggles and suffering by understanding the meaning behind them. What has been your answer to this question for yourself after all you have been through?
The meaning behind that one again?
Struggling and suffering.
What's the meaning behind suffering?
Look, often we feel like we are okay with suffering when we understand that there's a meaning behind it. And for a lot of you and me, I think we don't have to understand it. We know the meaning at this point. But for people who are where you used to be, where there's so much going on, what do you think was the meaning for your suffering and all those things you had to go through since you were a little child?
Yeah, this is an interesting question because I could answer this in many ways. Maybe I will. But
What happens?
Yeah, no, this is, it's fascinating because just when I think about this question, there's many thoughts that pop in my head on why, right? And the meaning behind the suffering. I mean, the fact is, in Buddhist philosophy, everyone's suffering, right? And we come to a place where we try to reach a point of acceptance that suffering is a part of life. Me personally, when I look at the meaning of my suffering, hopefully this is not too out of the realm of people's minds, but I truly believe that my journey and my suffering was due to potentially I was a vessel that could harness it and utilize it to benefit, other people who are going through this and in the world. I can say that looking back on it now, I can't say that while I was in my most intense times that you could have said that to me and I would have latched onto that. When I was going through my intense suffering, my question was why? And then when I started to get to my last attempt and past that, then I just started seeing that there's an end to the suffering other than suicide, right? So then some of that gave me comfort. But yeah, me personally, when I look back on the degree of emotional struggles and hardships and pain that I went through, I think that overall I was a vessel that could harness it, right? That could receive it, harness it, and be able to speak in a way that it could connect to other people. I hope so. It sounds nice. I mean, that's my view. That's my view of it. That's how I would like to think that those things, why my suffering and why it happened that way, and then why I got to this point. There's some people who are struggling who don't think they're going to come out of it, and I was very fortunate that I did. So yeah, I hope that answered that question. But that's how I feel.
Oh, I never asked you about this. Did you, in any of the 17 times, did you ever have experiences that were near-death experiences where you saw or experienced things that when you've left and before you came back?
Yeah, so my last attempt, I was gone for 1 minute, 35 seconds. So there's two parts of me on this one. Where there's a part of me that's like, okay, I was raised Baptist when I was younger, right? And had this belief in God and everything like that, and was programmed into me, right? Like God. Okay. So sometimes, and then, there's a part of me that's like, well, I was on these endorphins, or, I had the release of endorphins. So I was shocked. So what I saw, I'll share with you, but mind you, I cannot say that this really happened, or it may be what I mentally constructed in my mind, right? So
I personally think that it did, but that's my belief.
Yeah. So this is, like I said, I'm one of those people that I can see it from all angles, and I'll accept pretty much. I'm good with any of it because I'm like, well, I'm here now, so. So I saw myself. One, like I said, the one thing I can tell you, and I can even feel that feeling today. I felt really good, right? Really warm, really good. I saw myself laying there. I started to see visions of just past incidences in my life, almost like someone's, like, pictures were going around me in a circle, right? I felt a little bit of what I can call was a levitating type feeling that was, just above my body. And I swear that I could see them lifting me up, putting me in the ambulance and all that. I can't confirm because obviously I couldn't go back to the scene and be like, I feel like I could describe everyone there, but I can't confirm it because I'd have to find all those people who showed up and be like, were you wearing a red sweater? So that would be hard to do. But I feel like that's what I witnessed, and in this space, the thing that I draw on is as I'm seeing these like visuals of my life and things like that, I just feel incredibly good. And then that's where I heard a whisper, Jacques. And then, when I woke up, it was the guy yelling, like, welcome back. And then I was mad because the shock, I think, wore off and I felt all the pain. But that's when I saw, that's when I experienced. It was an incredible feeling of, the only way I can describe it is if you had, and this is probably not even a good description, but sometimes my brain just thinks of these weird things. But if you were just having like your favorite ice cream sliding down a rainbow.
Oh, yum.
And you're just in a slow slide. You got a little breeze on your face, and you just like the sun's shining too, and you're just sliding down. And it's in a slow slide. That's what I can describe it. Like it's just this incredible, wonderful feeling of just this is complete. This is perfect. It doesn't get much better than this. That's what I can describe it to. And like the visuals I saw were just like a lot of past life things and things that happened, but it was like I was watching someone else's movie. It was like it wasn't necessarily me, but it was. And then I wanted to stay there. It felt more better. It felt better than being in the ambulance, but obviously I wasn't meant to stay there.
Have shit to do. That's why.
Yeah. Apparently, like it's like, and you go back.
Yeah. No.
I know. I wonder if other people have that feeling of like, dang it, I'm coming back. I'd rather stay there.
So I have one episode that I did with the girl who had a near life experience, and she's describing hers was entirely different than yours, but the same idea, kind of. So yeah, I think that's one of the most beautiful ones that I've heard. Like I can see this image. Like in a cartoon where it's a kid's cartoon when all the colors are pastel-y and it just feels
one day maybe I should do one of those like deep hypnotizing things and have someone ask me questions about it or something. Maybe I can come up with more details. You know what I mean? I just haven't journeyed back to that time enough to really maybe pluck out some other details that I don't consciously see right now, but they're maybe deep in there. I mean, who knows? Maybe there's a message in there. Someone's like, hey, what's up, buddy? I'm just kidding. I don't know, could have been.
No, I think sometimes, we think that these spiritual experiences or, our guides or whatever, like they're like the holier than holy, but mine are freaking hilarious. Like sometimes they're like, so it's like, it could be a guy saying, if you go back, who knows? I love when you said you understood we're forever students. Well, actually, I want to go back to what we were just talking about now, just quickly.
Sure.
What was the last, how old are you now?
I am 47. I'll be 48 in 4 weeks.
Okay. So what was the last, how old were you when you had this last attempt?
23, 24.
Yeah. Have you had any thoughts of suicide since? Or that was the last time you ever wanted to do that? Like, I mean, we all have moments when we're like, fuck, I just want to go.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a ton. I look at it this way. I had my skills, my coping skills. I didn't have the skills to, when I got that depressed, to not attempt suicide, right? So over time, I've developed this toolbox just for a mental picture for people. And in that toolbox, I have a lot of other coping skills, meditation,
we're going to talk about that later as well.
Yeah, hugs, whatever. Suicide is still in that toolbox. I just no longer reach for that tool, but it's there. I open the toolbox, I can see it. I just don't reach for it. I don't think once you have attempted that many times or at that intensity, that it truly ever just goes, it just becomes something you don't go to. And at first it was, it took time, right? Because at first I get depressed about something, that thought was like, kill yourself. And then it's like, I got to the point where I didn't act on it, right? Then I got to the point where the thoughts were there, right? And that was it. And then I got to the point where that wasn't the first thought, it was like down the road. Yeah. And then slowly it became to where, it's in the toolbox, but I don't reach for it. It's not the first thing I think of if I'm not feeling very good, but it'll always be in there, underneath all the other coping mechanisms.
And I think it's so important to, like with any, it doesn't have to be this severe type of thing, but it's important to acknowledge these things, because for me, it's scary when I hear a person say, and they're totally unaware and they don't want to look at it. That's scary, because then you're not like, it can pop up and you're not aware that it's there.
Right.
Like, we need to understand and see and look at our dark bits, because then when we're aware of them, it's less likely for them to attack us, but take over us, because we're aware of them. We are
absolutely
aware, right?
Yeah. No, that's well said. Absolutely. I couldn't agree with you more.
So yes, so I love when you said that you understood we are forever students. When did you realize that, and what did you think before that?
Yeah, so it's interesting. So when I went through learning from my mentor and I got ordained, technically the title that I hold is Zen Master Bon Jacques Pierre. And I carried that for maybe a year. And then I got rid of it, like Master Bon, what are you talking about? I'm master of anything, I'm just trying to get through the day, right? So, you think that forever a student, we're always learning, we're learning from each other. And I think being humble and being open to realizing, and people say this all the time, but they don't always practice it, realizing that you can learn from many people in various ways, whether it's they're upset or whether they're happy, in various ways, if we just take the time to really look. So forever a student, because I see this happiness or just joy journey that I'm on, is the joy is embracing the pain. It is, and that is the joy, is embracing all of it, because I know that pain will subside. And I know, man, I am living, right? I am experiencing everything: heartache, joy, happiness, sadness, hurt, anguish. I got it all, and some people might be afraid of that type of smoothie, but I'm like, blend it all, because I know that I'm living the human experience. So that's why I feel forever a student. I'm going to learn and evolve. And, we could have this conversation 10 years from now, right? And maybe I'll have some different answers with some of the same questions you are asking me, because maybe I've evolved and discovered some different things, or maybe I'm not even a monk anymore, or maybe my name's Subi because I changed my name. Who knows, right?
Awesome. So we could do a swap.
There you go.
Just
who knows? Maybe we have a band,
No.
yeah, who knows? And that's the beautiful, exciting thing to me. And like, hey, forever, I don't believe in retirement. It's, to me, it's, I just, hey, I play here for a little bit, and then I just look for the next playground, and I go play over there for a little bit, and I'll do that until I cease to exist. No retirement. It may look like retirement because maybe I'm blowing bubbles and flying kites at some point, but yeah, I'm not going to retire. I mean, how am I going to retire from life? I'm just going to keep living it and being a student.
And I think that's the thing, isn't it? Like, we're here to grow and evolve and learn. And the moment you think you stop.
Right.
And when you understand that you just don't know, that's when you keep listening to others and you want to understand. Also, like you said, when you have this title of master, it's like it's so much pressure too.
Oh yeah.
What if you be a human? Just be a Suvi and be a Jacques. Like, why do you know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I don't want to be a master of anything, unless maybe I'll be a master of drinking water from a cup. Maybe that. Other than that, I just want to be someone who, like I said, shares some wisdom sometimes, and other times just shares some, some silly laffy taffy jokes or something. I don't know.
Having gone through so many darker moments for yourself, what would you tell someone who is where you once were? Because I'm sure there's a lot of people who are listening.
Yeah, and this one's going to be a hard one for people to, I feel, take on, but I'm going to express it anyway. One of the key factors to my healing process was I had to strip away the thought that I knew me. I had to throw away that ego, right? And so this will sound kind of weird, and hopefully the listeners don't take it the wrong way. It's almost like I had to, the suicide happened. It was that version of me, right? To produce this blank slate that is void of ego and void of thinking that I have a clue how to cope with my life, right? Pride, gone. Ego, got to stomp that out, because only then can I start to fill in these new pieces of something new, right? So I guess I always like using a garden, right? Maybe it's the same soil. Maybe I put some new soil in there and I planted some different seeds. They were still flowers, but I planted some different seeds, right? To start fresh. And I think that's what people who are in that healing process have to do. And I think it's hard for people because you have this thought, like, I know me, even if it's darkness. You're like, I know my darkness, right? And you got to escape from thinking you know anything about anything. I know nothing, right? Let me start like a toddler, learning some new behaviors, and be okay with that, Because, some people find it weird to be like, if I was just in that state, I would ask people, like, if I was back then, if we were friends and I was talking to you, I would ask you, like, Suvi, what's it like for you to laugh? And some people would think, like, that's silly. Or Suvi, what's it like when you're happy? What do you do? But that's how I had it to be, because I had to learn. And I had to think that how I thought of happiness and joy and all that stuff it wasn't serving me. It was only leading me to suicide. So I worked with people who cannot get over that hurdle. They want to cling on to their identity.
So
this is me.
And isn't it funny how sometimes when you talk to your clients or people in your life, and I always find it funny, and I had this for a long time, with the stuff that I was going through. It's like I wanted to get out, but that was just me saying I wanted to get out. When somebody offered me help, I didn't really want to, because even though I wasn't happy, but that was what I knew, and it had become part of my identity. So I'd rather, if I was honest with people, I'd rather stay where I was, because this is what I knew. This was comfortable for me. My unhappiness was comfortable for me. And it scared the shit out of me to think, okay, if I, like you just said, that you have to let go of all of that. It's like, but what am I?
Right. Right. Right.
So it's like,
yeah.
So that's the conflict. Like people tell, but I want to get out. I'm like, yeah, but you have to choose to let go of that. And like, of course I want to let go of it. I don't want my husband to, beat me. I want to get out of this. It's like, yeah, I hear you, but do you really? And this is a hard question for someone who is struggling, because, they will take it as an, offensive something. And there's always a reason why I'm still here, why I'm staying here. But if you truly look at it and you're like, okay, but yeah, I could leave, but why don't I? We can always find reasons to stay, right?
Always.
No.
Always. Yeah, like I said, what we're talking about, and that's why I love talking to you, because you say things so well. It's I say it where I'm telling you it's not easy. There were just some yelling, screaming moments in front of the mirror. Those just drop down in the kitchen of just tears profusely falling. That didn't seem like I had to drink water to rehydrate kind of tears, right? I mean, just some like moments, but it kept building to this better spots. And but no, it's
and
not many people want to, not when you tell people like, yeah, this is going to be a rough road,
they don't want to hear.
I mean, people, they don't want to go down that road. When you're like, hey, here's a bunch of pills. Once again, people out there, I'm not knocking medication. I was on it for a long time, but sometimes I'm saying for some people, it's an option that they don't do anything else. So if you're just doing the pill only option, I'm telling you, you're setting yourself up for a lifetime of pills.
Yeah, I agree. And I think that that's my solace with everything. And, whether it comes to your awakening or beginning to hear your guides, or, stepping into your work, or, getting out of depression, whatever, right? Like we need to keep doing what we feel we need to do, but that won't happen until it's your time, when it served you the purpose that it had for your life, when it's taught you the things that you needed to understand. When it's like you might be struggling with something for a super long time, and then there's a moment when it's like, all of a sudden it's like, no, I'm done now. I'm done. And you don't really know why. And I want to trust the divine timing of things. And it's like, I'm gifted the things I need to know right now. I might want to know more. And I want to go forward and like, I need to know. And that's actually keeping it even further at bay. But the moment I need to know, it's gifted to me. It's like, holy crap, where did that come from?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Right. Yeah, no, you're absolutely right.
But when you're in the middle of the darkness, obviously that's not what you want to hear, because it's like, I don't want to hear anymore.
Yeah.
But just trust that it's serving a purpose for you. You will let go of it when it's taught you what you needed to know.
Yes. Yes, absolutely.
It's easy to say, hindsight is 20/20, but
I know.
There you go.
Yeah. That's why, none of it's easy. It's just, the one thing is it's possible.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. It's possible.
How are you doing now with your personal mental health, and what were your tools to rise from the label society gave you?
The label that.
So the labels of like bipolar or depressed. Or
So, if someone were to, like, as people meet me now, they would think I'm the farthest from one having a diagnosis of bipolar, or have attempted suicide and things like that, just because that's so far away from what I know at this point. Those feelings, I mean, sometimes I look back and it looks like another life, which to a certain degree it kind of was. I mean, there's a different, I shedded a lot of layers to get to where I am, right? And this was always within. I just had to shed the layers to get here. So, the way that for me, meditation is going to be one of the top things that I do as far as in my life right now. I'm a person who really goes through questioning and natural, I call it a kid-like curiosity
Yeah.
with myself, right? And I keep that explorer's mentality. I make sure that I'm aligned with what feels right in me. And even if I'm not, because I know sometimes, someone's like, well, I gotta have this job and I don't know how to get out of it. Yeah, I get that. But as long as you have a plan that you're at least trying to actively move to a different space, that's good, right? It's when you just determine that this is just how it is, then you just kind of just close the lid on your continued growth. So, and I'm not one of the biggest things, and I know this one's going to be a difficult one for people, and I don't even think everyone's going to understand. I really do not have attachments to outcomes. So this is not that meaning that I don't make plans. So I don't want people to think like, well, you don't plan anything. No, I just don't have the attachment to the outcome. So I plan lots of things, but if it doesn't happen, okay, great. I go that way, or I just like, well, I learned from that. And that's my biggest coping mechanism now is I'm just enjoying the ride. I make the best out of the day that I have because I realize that I could cease to exist at any time. And I feel like the more I am mindful using meditation practice, the more I'm present, the more I can fulfill my day with some enjoyable moments. If I did die today, that's okay. That's okay. That's okay. Because one, it'd be nothing I could do anyway. It's not like I can control it. so if I went out and got hit by a truck or something, not like I could do anything about that.
Yeah, you already see, like you tried to control it, but you couldn't.
Yeah. So so that's those are my coping mechanisms. I do lean on meditation and really mindfulness practices a lot because that gives you these pauses in your day. And we all know when you have calmed your body, you're in a parasympathetic mode and you've been able to connect the left hemisphere to the right hemisphere, you're really thinking, there's a lot of clarity in all you're doing. You actually, that someone has partly pulled down, hopefully you see things a little bit more realistically than the paintbrush you're using. And life just kind of moves at this, like, okay, this is pretty nice. So that's really my coping mechanisms that I access daily.
So this kind of was part of the next question. So you already answered that bit, but we spoke about this in a lot of our chats, I think, how people might see you or me, it's like they have it all together and they're like doing their thing and blah, blah, blah. And that's giving an unrealistic expectation and something that people are struggling for. But we're all still humans, right?
Yeah.
And for people to understand that we still have shit days and days that we struggle, but we maybe approach them differently, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
That's the only difference between, So what would be the things that you still struggle with? Just to give people peace that it's okay to struggle. There's nothing wrong with a human being who have days that are hard.
I would say that one of the things that I struggle with that I'm still really learning is ensuring that I have proper energy showers, for lack of a better term.
Elaborate?
What's that?
Can you elaborate? Because for me,
it's a
different thing than to you, I'm sure.
So when I say energy showers, because I sometimes, if I haven't really, I haven't had days where I meditated or something like that, I can still with a lot of energy. So I say energy shower because it's just like, you feel all dirty and, you got a lot of stuff and you take a shower, you're like, you're so refreshed, right? So I struggle with sometimes making sure that I have the boundary that I'm able to look at what's gone over the last few days and recognize when it's probably not a good time for me to listen. You know, and that's where I'm learning what that boundary is, because I'm in a position that, you know, many people will talk to me and I will give my time, but I have to realize that in giving that time, if I say no, that's not a bad thing. I'm saying no because I realize that I'm not in a capacity to give you my 100%.
That's honoring you, that other person.
Yeah, but I still just like, yes, sure. So I'm still learning how to, you know, balance that sometimes. So, you know, so I don't have these highs and lows from just being energy drained. And because when you are, those struggles lead to other things. You know, I'm not going to feel as good. I'm not wanting to do as many things because I'm at this energy drained low.
So it can start to spiral pretty quickly.
So yeah, so that's what, and I would say that's what I struggle with the most. And I would say the other thing that I struggle with, and I don't even know if this is really a struggle, but you know, I am a person who embraces the solitude just as much as I embrace the being out in the public eye, right? And I think I struggle with having people understand that I can be in isolation and be okay, almost as much as I can be in the public. But I personally need to eat from both. You know, there's times where I need to be isolated from people, and there's times that I'm okay with being around everyone. And it's hard for me to explain, because when I want to be isolated, I want to be isolated. You know,
I so understand.
Yeah, and I think it's
sorry.
Well, the last part I was going to say, I think, you know, not everyone understands that, so it's hard. Like, I think, you know, the benefit and probably why our connection is so strong, because if you said that to me or I said that to you, I would totally get it, and I wouldn't be offended by it. You're like, hey, I need this.
You don't make it about yourself, like you're
if you're like, I need the next 3 days to just be me, I'm like, okay, cool, take those 3 days, right? You know, boom. But that, you know, the general people in my environment, it would not be the easiest to say, hey, I need 3 days, you know, don't contact me, things like that. They would be like, what's wrong? What's going on? But it's like, no, I just need that isolation time. That's, you know, that's so I just sometimes struggle with explaining that to people, because sometimes I don't want to. I just want to be like, see ya.
But the thing is, you know, like, I'm so tired of having to explain it to people, though. Like, I know. Like, I have less of a desire or need to. It's like, if you get upset for the fact that I need time for myself, if you make it about you, well, then maybe look at why it upsets you that somebody denies time, you know, from you. Maybe that's something you need to look at, instead of me explaining it to you so you feel comfortable with it, you know?
Yeah, no, I do know. And I think that sometimes sometimes I call it derobing, because I feel like sometimes the burden of being a monk is you look at these younger souls and you're like, well, let me explain it to you so you understand. So when you go to your next encounter, that you approach that situation different. And I'm the person that can help you, you know, can express some words to you that may be a little bit more comforting. And, you know, I think sometimes that's the mentorship that's in my brain as this human ambassador that sometimes I'm reluctant to do.
So then my question is also, yes, I heard, and I think that's beautiful, right? And I totally understand what you're saying. But do you feel like there's a tiny bit that is actually you not wanting to disappoint people?
I think if when I first donned the, you know, working in this capacity, I think that was definitely a part of it. I think as I have really been more, so I would say before I was more, you know, I would teach here and there. So not many people knew me as a monk, just very few. I think in the past 3 years or so, most people who meet me, that's what they know me as. And I think since that time, I've been able to harness not worrying about disappointing people, because I realized that, there's nothing I can do about it. And if I'm in the capacity to help, I'm in the capacity to help. But like I said, there's still sometimes I think I have my mentor chirping in my ear, like, but they're just help them out, and they're struggling right now. And then, but then there's a part of me that, I was raised in the hood, and I was raised a fighter. So there's sometimes, depending on if I'm really energy low, sometimes I'm just like, yo, man, step off. I just do that mentally, because every once in a while that person crops up like, listen here.
Holy crap, what was that?
Right, these ropes can come off just as quick as they go on.
But that's about integrating. But about integrating all aspects of you, not denying parts of you. There's still parts of you. Maybe not the dominant ones, but there's still parts of you. So a lot of people do meditation, and it's widely discussed, so we don't need to go into that so much. But you were talking about, and you've sent me a few beautiful ones, and it's like I just find them beautiful, about drawing mandalas meditation. Can you just briefly share to people what that means if they want to try it? I mean, especially in Australia where we have so many beaches and you can go and just do your thing.
Yeah, so the mandala drawing, one, for someone who's just starting, you just start in the center. Typically, the easiest way is with a circle. Once you make that circle, then whatever shapes that you make outside that circle, just repeat them, right? Maybe it's in the pattern of 4, maybe it's in the pattern of 6 or 8 or 1 or 2, but you repeat that pattern. Now, what the mandala represents is the universe, right? And so as you're drawing this mandala, you'll find yourself being fully present and fully mindful, which that is what we want to strive for in life, to be as present as we can in every moment. And then you're detached, right? And that's the other part, because you realize that everything we have will go away. And this mandala that you took time to draw and put together, however big or small it is, will go away. And that is okay. And that represents life. The universe, everything is connected, and then it goes away because we appreciate it in that time that we're in, that space and time. That is the beauty, and that's why I love doing the mandala meditation. And as you draw, you're breathing through the strokes, right? And you're just in there. And I'm telling you, if you do this, if you get a chance to do this, mandalas, if you get a chance, and I think I have some videos on my Instagram that you can see, the world just stops, right? And you'll find there's that moment where you weren't thinking about anything, for people who have all these thoughts, but that next stroke, right? That all the sounds disappeared. Whoa, man, that's a powerful moment at the end. Yes, that's where, have your conversations with the universe right there, because you are grounded and tuned in. You are tuned in. You could probably feel the rotation of the earth in that point.
Plus that you're connecting with nature and being outside, which is, again, another beautiful grounding practice to do. And I think that, like what you were saying about not being attached to, your beautiful creation, because it's going to be blown away. And I think that's something, it might be that maybe you're a writer and you're writing something, and then you're, for other people, or you're writing something, you're sharing your story, whatever, and then your computer has a glitch and everything goes away, and we're so upset because it's gone. And those are the moments when it's like, but who was I writing this for? Right?
Yeah.
Who am I doing this for? Because I think personally, this is just my belief, or how I want to do my work. It's like I write, for me, I express just for the sake of expressing the words and the thoughts that I have. If people might get something out of it, that's an extra bonus. But I do it for my soul expression, because that's what I feel I need to do. But I mean, it's a human thing, right? If you write 40 pages and it's all gone, it's like my life, you know?
Yeah.
So, but keep that in mind, you know, like that's a moment to maybe reflect and think, who am I actually doing this? Am I doing this to impress other people, or am I just sharing my soul expression, which it should be, I think?
Yeah. And that, right, what you said to me is the best part. When you have this emotion that pops up, no matter what it is, that you just, you have a moment where you also can reflect on that, right? That piece right there is that continual student self-discovery, forever student, as we're saying, continual just self-discovery is those moments. They come, they rise, and you're able to reflect on it. Yeah, that's what we want. That's what we want to try to do, right?
I'm personally going to go and do a mandala tonight or tomorrow morning. I have another call, so I might not be, depends on the sunset time. But I promise to go and do one. I've done small ones, but I want to do a bigger one.
Nice.
When I see them, just looking at it, it just makes me, it's beautiful.
Yeah.
And I'm asking everyone who's listening to take a stick and go out.
Yeah.
Now we can't be with other people, so you can, you know, do your own thing and leave a mark that will be gone by the next morning, but it's for you. What are your main tools in your personal spiritual practice? I mean, I think we already kind of covered them, but if there's like some that you want to throw out there for people to maybe think for themselves if they want to try them.
Yeah. Well, yeah, we kind of covered this. Meditation is going to be one of the tools in my spiritual practice, practicing, you know, mindfulness behaviors. Another one is listening. Listening. To me, I will lean to listening every single time that it is a skill that needs to be developed. I know people think like, oh yeah, I hear this. No. You have to develop the skill. And when you do, not only listening to yourself, not only listening to nature, the different sounds, but people and what they're saying, and being open despite if they're yelling or things like that, to really feed through that and pick out the message that they're really trying to say. Because we should see, even if a person is yelling at us, which I'm not saying, some people are like, oh, you're disrespecting me, that's rude. We can still look at this as, you know what? Your emotion is not coming out in a way that I find appealing, but I do appreciate your sharing an emotion. You know? Now, I'm not saying that that emotion should come with a violent act. That's different. You know, I'm not saying someone hits you, you're like, thank you, I'm glad my face was here. You know, for you to outlet your physical expression. No, we're just saying that, you know, sometimes when people are saying things to us, that if we really think, like, no matter how it's coming out, we can appreciate the fact that they are choosing to speak to us. Then it doesn't matter what they say. It could be beautiful. And so those are the skills that I practice. You know, as we've mentioned in this, you know, this podcast, I'm not perfect. That's why I practice, right? If you saw my post, you know, just like meditation, you know, don't meditate to get good at meditation. Meditate to get good at life.
Exactly.
Right?
Totally.
Yeah. And that's how people should view it. It's a practice to be able to slow down your life, but whether you get good at meditation or not, come on, man, that's not.
Because I think then it's just, you know, it should be something that connects you to you and to others and to the world. And if you make it into, I want to get good at this, then it becomes just another thing to achieve.
And usually that's people who say I'm good at meditating. It's usually based off time.
Yeah.
You know, they'll be like, I meditated for 20 minutes yesterday. Okay.
Great. So.
Right. Yeah. And so it's no different than the person who meditated for 2 minutes, but that's usually people choose that bar when they think like I'm getting good at meditation based off time. You're missing it. I'm telling you right now, for those of you who've been meditating or you're meditating right now, if you're basing how skilled you are at meditating based off time, you're missing the meaning of meditation. I'm telling you right now, you're missing the meaning. Okay. So take out the time. If you do 20 minutes, if you do 20 minutes, great. You know, if you do 2 minutes, great. If you do 2 seconds, great. Doesn't matter.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that's not why we're meditating. So
yeah, I agree.
Just think about that for you meditators out there. Yeah.
If you had a magic wand, what would you change in the world? One thing.
Ooh. If I had a magic wand, this is a good question, man. You went to.
Do you have one?
Yeah. A pen. I have a pen in my hand.
But you create your own reality, that can be a magic wand.
Yeah. Oh man. If I had a magic wand, one thing I would change in the world. Gosh, man, that is a hard question because there's so many things that I could think of. I think I would create where people could feel the connection between all things, to where I think there would be a different appreciation for all things. Doesn't mean people just people like, oh, I like to eat meat. Doesn't mean people wouldn't eat meat anymore or anything like that. I'm not saying that. I'm not saying we wouldn't have fish, but I'm just saying there'd be appreciation for all life, an appreciation for this planet. So I think I would give people just a connection to the planet, right? So they feel it. You know what I mean? They feel what's going on. Because then I think if you could feel the, pain of, whales dying for nothing really, then you'd be like, hey, we need to stop doing that. Or all these different things, we'd be like, hey, we need to stop doing that. But because, it's people can't really feel that. I mean, some people are compelled to, which I appreciate those, but other people are like, yeah, it's not me. They're like, that's not me. Wrap, throw it, chuck it. Yeah, who cares? Yeah. So that's what I would do.
That's pretty powerful.
Yeah, maybe enough. When I thought about the question, I would not eradicate. I would not have a wand and eradicate any emotional pain or suffering. I wouldn't do that. Like at first I thought that, like, oh, maybe I'll get rid of this. Nope. I would keep all that stuff. I still want people to feel intensely.
That's the magic, bro. That's the fucking reason why we're here, isn't it?
Yeah. So I still have people feel intensely, but just be able to be like, just to really have that connection with the planet. Because I think if really people could harness that connection, they would truly realize that they're never really alone, right? You're never alone.
But also to understand that, when you hurt someone else, you hurt yourself.
Exactly. And talking about the current, I mean, things that would clear up. You know what I mean? I mean, things would clear up if people realize, like, oh, yeah, there would, that would clear up a lot of wars. They clear up a lot of things, but
maybe one day.
Yeah, I mean, I'll buy a country and.
Where did the idea of the Meditation and Mindfulness Institute for Humans come from, and what it actually is? And if people want to join in, and that's what you're doing with Ryan, right? Who I mentioned in the beginning.
Yeah. So Ryan is.
Totally share.
Yeah. So Ryan is considered. It's called a Trappa monk, which is someone who's going through the monk process, who's being mentored by me. And just so people out there know, man or woman can be a Zen Bon monk. It's not just males. So if anyone was interested in going that process, you don't have to physically be in my location. Just talk to me if you're interested in following that path. Understand that there is no 1 year and you're a monk. It could be 2 years, 3 years, 4 years. So they'll truly see if that's something you want to do. The school came out of COVID. COVID hit, and
COVID.
Yeah, COVID hit. Yeah, COVID hit, and I thought of, I started. You have these moments, in the quiet moments, where the world kind of stops a little bit, and my travel stopped because I was traveling and teaching, and I just thought, kind of, how do I want some of my days to go? And I decided that, my mentors had talked to me about building a sangha, which is saying it's a community of practitioners. But I didn't really want to build that. But I did want to have a lot of wonderful people around me. I decided that I wanted to just fill my day with just unconditional love and genuine conversations. And I thought, how better to do that than to create a school, which would become this community. And that's so I went into the, as I call, Buddha lab and started writing, and I wrote this curriculum. And I got volunteers, and they went through the course, and they graduated, and then I built a team, and the school has expanded. Now it's an 18-week school. Goes Tuesdays and Thursdays. Doesn't matter where you are on this planet. In our class right now, we have a couple people from Mexico, we got a couple people from India. So my first class, I had people from Malta, Poland, of all places, different parts of the world, to connect to this community and learn about meditation and mindfulness. Now, the difference with our school, meditation and mindfulness Institute for Humans, the difference with our school is that it's a forever relationship. So everyone from the first class, we still meet up via Zoom, obviously, each month. And now the people from this class, when they graduate, we will all together meet each month, and we still do activities and support each other and continue to learn and grow. And that's the biggest thing about our school, is that it's not a school you go to and then we're like, here's your certificate, bye, take care of yourself. Yeah, no, we're like, hey, this is just the beginning of this journey, and we want to be with you as long as you'll have us. We want you to be a part of this community as long as you want to. And that's the biggest difference from our school. That's why people go, because you get connected. And like I said, what better situation to be than to be able to be around these non-judgmental, unconditional, fully supporting human beings who just want to see you succeed in whatever endeavor or whatever path you go on. That's what our school is about. And that's what I created. And it's been a beautiful journey that, I feel very fortunate that, I get to play. And this, I get to play. I get to play and meet incredible people, listen to incredible people, teach them some things, and just watch these relationships develop. I tell you, and sorry, this is the last thing I'll say about this. I know time. They have a lesson. We have a lesson plan. They learn these different things, but I cannot create the connections that the people are having. I mean, I created a space, but the connections, I can't teach that. That is these people connecting with each other and forming these bonds that are beyond me. And it is beautiful. I don't have the words for it right now. I'm so excited to see people connect and be able to be seen, as we've talked about before. Yeah. And we have ages 19 to 76. So it's awesome. A lot of life. Yeah. Beautiful. Love it.
Oh. So if people want to join, we'll put all the links and details at the end.
Yep.
Where people can find you. So just quickly for clarity, what else do you do? Like work, I think you just live your life, not work. I think that's maybe the way to describe. But outside of the school, what do you do?
Oh yeah, that's incredible.
If you can do it really briefly, and
I will. When I say I play, I do. One of the things you'll find is I have longboard skateboards that I do. I kayak. I do this mandalas. I find any random hideaway tucked away and go on a treasure hunt to find these different locations. I do things without my phone. Yes, that's a thing now, where you just leave your phone at home and you just go out and
like we used to do, right?
Yeah, right. And you just live your life. So I do things like that, and I listen and observe, and I watch people who are feeling joy. My sanctuary is the beach. If you can't get to the beach, I understand that, but that's my sanctuary. And at a time I wasn't at the beach. I had to figure out a path to get here, and I did. And good luck getting me away from it. So yeah, and a lot of conversations. That's kind of what makes up my day. A lot of just wonderful. Yeah, I'm very lucky. I'm very fortunate. When I think about it, I'm like, man, I'm in an unbelievable situation. Just I am full of gratitude, and it's thanks to everyone who's been on my path and on my journey and continues to be on my journey. People like you. I mean, what a beautiful. I get to meet this wonderful human from Australia. That I connected with on call one.
Like meeting your family that you've lost.
Yeah. I mean,
recognition.
Really, and how many people get to experience that? I feel the closest to you that I don't have with some people here that I've known for 40 years, and that's amazing. That's beautiful.
That means nothing, does it? It means nothing.
No,
really.
No.
You mentioned earlier, or I mentioned earlier, that you wrote a book. Can you throw out the name of the book and then where people can find it if they want to read it? I know you're writing a book as well, but the one that you already did.
It's on Amazon. So it's 7 attempts, 17,000 thoughts, or it's 17,000 thoughts, 7 attempts. It's one of those 7 attempts, 17,000 thoughts. You can see I don't market it very much. Because as you were saying, I didn't really write the book for people. I just wrote the book because I wanted. But it's on Amazon. If you look up Jacques Pierre Cole, it'll pop up in the Amazon space. But it's really just, it discusses in a very powerful way my journey through 7. Doesn't even go through all of them. It goes through 7 of the suicide attempts. The main ones that were life-changing that I had from the age 8 and on. And then, of course, it does leave on a good note on how I started to heal myself. So I don't want you to think it's just a depressing book, but it's very descriptive. So, I'm pretty open about, what happened and, sexually abuse and things like that. So, I wrote it for people to just have a little bit of knowing that, hey, it can get dark, but things can get better. And hopefully they learn from some of the things that I went through.
What would you say to the little you if you would have a chance?
I would say to the little me, you know what? I wouldn't say anything. I would just hug myself.
Sometimes that's more important. Words can.
I would just hug myself. Even when I started squirming, I would just squeeze even tighter to imprint that sensation and that feeling
of safety.
My family wasn't very affectionate growing up, so I would just simply. That's why I love giving hugs now. I would just hug myself. No words. Hug.
So last one. What do you consider to be the meaning of life?
What do I consider to be the meaning of life?
And this has to be a short answer, Jacques. You can't do 5 minutes on this. So
no, this will be a short answer.
Okay.
The meaning of life is whatever you want to apply to it. That's the meaning. The meaning is for you to discover that. So my meaning to life is play. Play, live, learn. Your meaning is going to be different. So that's the meaning of life. And it's okay not to have that determine what the meaning is. Just live. It'll come to you.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Okay.
That was under 5 minutes.
That was really, I'm super impressed. I'm so impressed. What would be one thing, I'm going to make this into a short quote from you. What would be, if there were one thing you would want people to take out of, I think I know what you're going to say, but we'll see. What is the one thing you would want people to walk away from our conversation with today that I can make into a quote from you?
Probably live every day not if this was your last, but for an unknown experience, potentially able to connect you to your humanity, your passion, genuine human kindness, and self-discovery. So that's what would be one of the things that I would leave people with is, just, live every day to your fullest, right? And that's it. That's it. I'm not going to go all day on that one.
Live every day to the fullest.
Yeah, live every day for what it is, an unknown experience, right? Able to potentially connect you to these just major, wonderful moments, and get rid of some of the expectations we have, right? And just live, just live. Yeah.
Where can people find you if they want to? Again, we're going to put them on to the end, but where can people find you? Your Instagram and...
Yeah, so if you look up Rogue Zen Monk on Instagram, that's the way to find me. If you go to www.mmih.world, that is, you'll see me there. If you want to email me, it's at monk@madeforjoy.life. So monk@madeforjoy.life. Feel free to email with any questions or comment or, really anything, anything you'd like to discuss. I'm pretty open, and I will respond and I will reply. So, yeah.
Thank you so much I just love you. I think you're awesome.
I love you too.
Thank you for chatting with me and sharing your story with our listeners. And I'm sure we'll be chatting more after. But before we go, if you can just lead us into a few minutes meditation that people, whether you're ending your day or continuing your day or beginning your day after you listen to our episode, that you can go with that piece and come into your day. Okay, the floor is yours.
Thank you. So, right now, whatever position that you're in, whether it be sitting, lying down, whether you want to stand up, get into that position. Make sure that you are comfortable, right? And sometimes you've probably been through meditations that you breathe through the nose and out the mouth. But this time, we're just going to breathe through the nose because it'll actually help us bring ourselves down pretty quickly. So get in your position, take a deep breath through the nose and out the nose. Another deep breath in. Out the nose. As you breathe in and we breathe out, try to make, when you exhale, longer than your inhale. So breathe in, exhale. You can push the belly button all the way to the spine. And when we breathe in, feel free to lift the chest up. Take a deep breath in. We're filling air into our diaphragm, our belly, and then breathe out. Again, breathe in. Breathe out. Now try just a few on your own. Embrace the silence for just 30 seconds. Wonderful. Now, whatever position you're in, just begin to move your toes, move your fingers a little bit. We're going to open our eyes when you're ready. And as you begin to open your eyes, this is where you can set forth your affirmation with your eyes open. Take your right hand, put it over your heart. That is for you. Take your left hand, put it over your right hand, and just hold yourself just for this moment. Your right hand is for you. The left hand is for anyone you want to send the affirmation to. Positive affirmations to yourself. You are amazing. You are loved. You're incredible. You're strong. And I am so glad you are here with me. Take a deep breath in and feel that chest rise. Exhale. You can move your hands. And thank you so much for that quick meditation. I made it that way. So this is something when you wake up, you can do this and express gratitude. Before you go to bed, you can do the same thing, whether you're lying down. Maybe a good thing if you fall right asleep doing it, but it's something that really brings your body down to a calm state. One of the many meditations you can do, and just do your best, however long you do it. And thank you for sharing this moment with you. You are a beautiful person, Suvi. Thank you for this opportunity and platform to help people just take a moment in time, tiny moment, to just be.
I think we often make meditation into something complicated, but it's not.
Yeah.
So thank you for sharing that with everyone. It's beautiful.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you everyone for tuning in and for listening. Not sure when the next episode is going to come, when the perfect person pops in who I want to share their story and have a conversation. That's when it will be. Thank you, Jacques. And I love you.
Thank you.
And
I love you too. It's beautiful. Thank you so much. All right.
You are listening to The Elephant in the Room, the podcast where we put our deepest vulnerabilities under spotlight.